I would like to start this meeting, please, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. As chair of the Guilford Select Board, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by Governor Scott as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and pursuant to Addendum 6 to Executive Order 0120 and Act 92, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. In accordance with Act 92, there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting. However, in accordance with the temporary amendments to the open meeting law, I confirm that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by https://meet.jit.si/Guilford Selectboard 04.13.2020. We are using this for this remote meeting. All members of the Guilford Select Board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if desired, participate in this meeting. Providing public notice of instructions for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing this meeting, including how to access the meeting using https://meet.jit.si/Guilford Selectboard 04.13.2020. And instructions have also been included on the town website at Guilford, Vermont, Town of Guilford, Vermont. What is our website?
It's guilfordvt.net.
Guilfordvt.net. Thank you. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please call 802-254-4117. Continuing the meeting if necessary. In the event the public is unable to access this meeting, it will be continued to a time and place certain. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting that are not unanimous will be done by roll call vote in accordance with the law. Okay, I've already taken attendance, so we can move. I've called us to order. We can recognize the public. Do we have any members of the public on either the telephone or on the jitsi.org website?
It does not look that way.
Okay. The rules of procedure, we would obtain to the rules of procedure if we indeed have public joining us. Are there any additions to the agenda?
I do not have any.
All right. Are there any changes to the agenda order?
I do not have any either.
Okay. I will ask then for the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting?
What is that sound?
Michael, are you doing us by phone and by
I'm trying to hang. That might have been me with the echo action there. Sorry.
It's nice to see you. Hello.
Oh, hi. Okay. All right. I think I'm into video mode here. Sorry.
Okay.
Good.
I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes.
I would move that the minutes be accepted.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Sure.
Thank you, Zahn. Is there any discussion of the minutes of the previous meeting? Without there being further discussion, then all those in favor, and I'm going to call the roll. Zahn?
Yes.
Rusty?
Aye.
Veranda?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. The motion carries unanimously, and thank you very much. Okay, Vermont, Peter, on to your report on the VTrans annual financial plan.
Sure. So every year, Danny and I usually, in previous years, we have met with a couple of representatives from our local VTrans office. And the purpose of this is to determine the amount of grants that the town is eligible for our highway maintenance. Obviously, due to the current situation, We did not do that. Somebody just started sharing your screen with us.
Oh, I did, but you can't see me, sorry.
I can see your screen, but not you.
Okay.
Anyhow, so due to the COVID-19 situation, I have been working remotely in conjunction with Megan Brunk, our District 2 representative. And what we do is we review the annual highway budget that has been approved at town meeting, and then the VTrans does a number of calculations to determine our grant receipts for highway maintenance for the upcoming year. And as in a positive note, our grants will be increasing by almost $11,000 this year. So that's positive. But that's about it. It's fairly simple form, which I shared with all of you.
Yeah.
And so basically all we need is the board needs to have two motions. The first motion is to certify that the town of Guilford raises funds through taxes that are equal to or greater than $300 per mile of class 1, 2, and 3 town highways within the municipality.
All right. So do I have, can I have someone make that motion, please?
I will move it, but I can't repeat it if I move it as written. I mean, I just can't repeat it from memory.
Thank you, Veranda, but that's pretty much standard language for it. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Was that Michael?
Yes.
No, I
All right.
think, oh,
Thanks,
it was Michael. Oh,
Okay.
There might have been two of us saying it at the same time.
Is there any discussion?
How did we come up with, this is Rusty, how did we come up with that figure of $300 per, was it per mile, $300 per 3 miles?
Yeah, that is set by the state legislature as the minimum amount that needs to be raised via taxes for road maintenance. The town raises almost $1,400 per mile for our road maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Veranda, I'm going to take a roll call. Veranda,
aye.
Rusty,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Zahn,
Aye.
and Richard, aye. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Select Board. Peter, your second motion, please.
I need someone to move to certify that the town complies with the Vermont road and bridge standards for towns, and further certify that the town's adopted standards meet or exceed these requirements. And lastly, to certify that the town has an up-to-date road, bridge, and culvert inventory. And I can confirm that all of those are true.
Thank you, Peter. Do I have a motion as such? I so move.
Okay, yes.
And do I have a second?
I'll Yeah. second it.
Who was the second? Was that you, Michael, again?
I have Zahn as a second.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion? Great, I shall take the roll again. Veranda,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Rusty,
Aye.
Zahn,
Aye.
okay, Richard, aye. The motion carries unanimously, and thank you very much. On then now to the local emergency management plan. Peter, did you want to speak to this item on the agenda?
Yes, I'm happy to. So every year, the select board has to adopt the updated local emergency management plan. I shared this plan with all of you for your review, several drafts worth, as well as the final draft for this weekend. And basically this plan sets out who would be responsible for certain activities and other actions that would happen in the event of emergency within Guilford. And so it provides information about contacts and what the normal operations are. Should we need to open up the emergency operations center, and actions that the select board takes, actions that the incident commander would take, and as well as actions that the emergency management director would take. I'm not going to read through all 60 plus pages of it,
Oh,
but
heavens
that's kind of
no. It's very interesting.
so that's the synopsis of what it is. And so
Okay.
the state has us updated every year to make sure that we remain in compliance, as well as that it's updated for any changes that have happened in town, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, I'm going to ask for discussion of that. I'm assuming that everyone has read it, but I do have a couple of points that I would like to make. One, Peter, you didn't fill in the public information officer and the communication officer. Is that because that has to be discussed, or?
That is because we do not at the moment have anyone who has volunteered to take on those roles. That being said, those roles can also be assigned to someone at any given point in time.
Uh-huh.
In over the past several years, when I had assisted Sheila with this, when she was the EMD, even at that time, she struggled to find someone who would take on this role. A select board member can take it on if you wish, although that can complicate things. It would be easier if we had a resident in town who was willing to take it on. And there is some training that the state, under normal circumstances, there's some training that the state does provide to help the person who is the public information officer.
Is there a retraining? Is there a
sorry.
training required?
It's recommended, it's not required.
And the state does provide the training?
That is correct, and the state provides it for free.
Mm-hmm.
And so is this a volunteer job? The public information officer?
Yes, that's correct, Veranda. And it would only be utilized in the event of an emergency.
No, clearly.
Well, we should make I think a concerted effort to find someone to be the PIO, because that really is, I think, I mean, in the event of an emergency, a very, oh, what's happening? What happened? Yeah.
I am trying to. Where does it? Can anyone give me a little guidance? Where? Is it the red phone? Oh.
Oh, blessed peace. So I was saying that we should make a concerted effort. I mean, I would be willing to volunteer for that position, but I don't know how that really segues with the role of the chair of the select board, because I know that in the event of an emergency, the select board is really called upon to do quite a bit of work, and especially the chair, as it's laid out in the LEMP.
This
Yes,
is
that is
Brenda.
correct.
I understand that I'm listed as the communication officer, and I wonder how big a shift it is from public information to communication. I didn't really grasp what the difference in job description was.
Veranda, that was just something put down. If you don't,
Oh,
if you're
I
not
don't mind
interested
to
in
do it.
doing that.
Peter, I don't mind to do it. I was just trying to understand, I could theoretically take on the role as public information officer, but I didn't know whether the communication person and the PIO had different jobs to do that would make it complicated to do both.
I read them as two different jobs. One, the communication
That's
officer,
correct, Richard.
yeah, the communication are being responsible for writing press releases and so forth, and the public information officer coordinating communications amongst the incident commander and other components of the whole emergency management structure.
As well as the
Well,
public,
as a citizen, yeah. So I'd be willing to be the public information officer. And Verenda, do you want to serve as the communications officer?
I'm comfortable to do that. And maybe, I mean, if we really have an emergency, maybe others can sort of step in supporting roles to make sure that each part of that is attended to. For instance, if you as chair have additional responsibilities that would cut into the time it takes to be the PIO, that, you know, we could just share some of the responsibilities.
Yes. Do those need to? Those don't need to be voted on, do they? Those positions, Peter?
No, Richard, they do not.
Okay, so why don't we do that for now anyway? And in the meantime, however, I will look to to see whether there's anyone that I come in contact who would prefer to be or willing to be, who's experienced in information, in dealing with information and communicating information, who would be a better choice than I.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
I will put your name in there for the time being, and this document is fluid.
Yes.
And so we can change, even though it gets approved, it can be changed at any point in time.
Very good.
So I had a couple of other very small issues that I think I might have written to you about in the past, Peter. And it was just on page 4, 4.5, when we were talking, when the document is talking about vulnerable populations. You know, I don't think that this is something we need to address in this document, but I do think that, you know, our local organizations need to increase their capacity to identify vulnerable people in town, because in general, they're just identifying elders, and there are a lot of people in the town who are vulnerable who are not elders. And the other thing is 4 points. What?
No, go ahead. I thought you were finished. My apologies.
Oh, you can always interrupt me, Peter. 4.6, it talks about the Red Cross sheltering people in hotels. And I was wondering, you know, for warming shelters and for people who have lost their homes, and whether this is just boilerplate, or whether we in Guilford ought to find people who could take in families within the community. So that's it.
So I'm going to take your or speak to your second question first.
Okay.
So that is something that could be done in the event of an emergency. I think it's, on the one hand, it's a great idea. On the other hand, that's I just want to make sure that we're cautious as far as how the action the select board takes on that matter, just in that the select board should be promoting the use of established shelters. Obviously, we can encourage folks to stay with family and friends if they have a situation that enables them to do that. But yeah, I mean, this was something that was recent, or within the past 6 months, has been discussed at one of the the quarterly EMD meetings, and there seems to be a little bit of uncertainty as far as what the appropriate take on that is. So everyone obviously acknowledges that it's a great idea and it's something we should encourage, that if a neighbor or a family member in town can take in someone else, to obviously to do so, to reduce the burden on the shelters. So I don't have an immediate answer, and nor do folks from VEM. So
could I ask a question?
Sure, Zon.
Steve Lemke was in he visited a select board meeting, I'm going to say maybe 4 months ago, and talked about the Wyndham Regional Commission's understanding of vulnerable populations. And I was still very new at that point, so I'm not sure I took it in. Did anybody absorb that in a way that it ties into this thinking here, the emergency planning thinking? Does anybody recall that?
Yeah, I do remember what you're talking about, Vaughn, and that does tie into Veranda's question as well. And so this is something that has been discussed quite heavily over the past 6 or 8 months amongst EMDs and other emergency responders, fire chiefs, as well as Rescue Inc. have all been involved in this discussion. And last fall, actually at 2 different times, that group of people met with about, I think it was 8 different organizations that serve vulnerable populations. And Veranda, your observation is correct that there are many more vulnerable people in addition to the elderly or those with health problems. The difficult thing when it comes to vulnerable populations is there's 2 things. One is folks need to self-identify. We cannot make people identify. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes people who fall into a vulnerable population category often have medical problems, and due to HIPAA regulations, we also can't identify them with that. And so as part of the LEMP, I'm sure you saw there was a page that listed, I think it was 7 different nonprofit organizations that assist vulnerable populations, from home health care. There were 3 or 4 home health care organizations. There were mental health organizations and others that were listed. And so the agreement that was come between Wyndham Regional and the EMDs and those various organizations was that in the event of an emergency, those organizations would contact either the EMD or the incident commander if they knew of someone that they could not, that had a need that they could not reach. And because of HIPAA regulations, that's the only way that we could know who those folks are, unfortunately.
So
Well, the other way we have is with Guilford Cares, who does have a list of the, of self-reported people who are vulnerable in our town. And it may be that we want to insert Guilford Cares here as a resource right into the LEMP.
They are listed in there.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I just wanted to make sure that for Veranda's sake, that we have this fabric woven together and that it's not, there aren't holes in it too much, that there are efforts to, make sure that the information is available and resources are available to people, but it will take some putting it together in case of an emergency, as I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's correct. Are there any other discussion points besides I never got to my second point that I was going to introduce?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It was that Sheila Morris had asked me to send the draft LEMP to her, and she does have she thought it was very well done. And kudos to Peter for getting it done that way, but she had some minor comments that shall send to you, Peter.
Okay, that sounds fine.
And just in case you're wondering why Sheila is the former chair of the select board and also the former EMD. So that's why she was curious to see the current LEMP. All right, any other discussion? Moving right along then. I thought.
Well, Richard, we need a motion to adopt the 2020 LEMP.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt the 2020 local emergency management plan? Zahn says yes. Do I have a second?
I will.
I'll do it.
Okay. And is there any further discussion?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for your good work, Peter. I'll take a roll call. Zahn,
Aye.
Miranda,
Aye.
Rusty,
Aye.
Michael. Unmute Michael. Michael!
Did we lose Michael?
No, he's there. He just needs to unmute. Down in the middle, Michael, in the middle. Left of the red button in the bottom. Don't
Michael?
there we go. Mute, unmute. Left. Oops, huh. Maybe he.
Can you nod your head then? Can he hear us?
Yes.
Yes, he can hear us and he's responding yes.
Okay, so the motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, Select Board.
Now, Richard, before you move on, I need a second
Yes.
motion that the select board.
Oh, there's Michael.
Yeah, I finally found it. Sorry.
Oh,
I'm
he's
so sorry.
back. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Can
I was there the whole time.
Would you state the second motion, Peter, please?
Yes, so the select board adopt the National Incident Management System as a means of communications. So the National Incident Management System is a defined system of communication and authority in the event of an emergency that has been proven and tested over the past 40 years.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Rusty. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Michael.
Thank you, Michael. Is there any further discussion? I have something to say. I know that have all the select board members gone through the training of the national incident training?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
well that we need to discuss that because all select board members should go. It was a very good training. I went through it. I think you did too, Veranda, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And it's I found it very useful. And so Peter, would you make a note that we need to follow up on that?
Yes, I will do so. At the moment, all of those classes have been canceled for the time being due to the obvious situation.
Yeah, but we do
But
need to remember,
as soon as yes.
there will be a brighter day.
Pretty rainy here now.
Yes, it is.
The
Well,
bar is pretty low.
Okay, so now we want to, Peter, do you have anything to add to the COVID-19 in regard to our state or into our county or our town that we haven't seen or discussed previously?
The primary thing is that the governor, last Friday, the governor extended his stay home, stay safe order until the 15th of May. At least on Friday, when he did his announcement, there had been a slowdown in new cases, unfortunately, over the weekend. And today we've had another spike in the number of cases again. The governor has ordered the Department of Motor Vehicles to extend the deadline for all license and registration renewals to be extended for the month of April for 90 days. And yeah, he added a few other things to his executive order, but nothing that specifically relates to the town as an entity. The only thing I would say, since this will be put in the public, if we do have any residents in Guilford who were previously licensed medical professionals, whether that's a nurse of one form or another, or a technician or other, that even if your license is expired, the governor has implemented emergency measures to expedite that process if you are willing to provide your services.
Thank you. And we all received copies of the most recent executive order. I certainly did, and you can get them online too at the state. Is there any further discussion about? And Peter, let me just.
Do we need to extend the order to May 15th? Do we need to do that?
We did it.
We did. When did we?
We already did. Yeah. because the order is coming directly from the governor, the select board, his order supersedes any action of the select board. And so because he made that order, I went ahead and took the steps necessary to extend it.
Great, thank you.
And it's also, it's on the flashing sign at the fire station now, the new date, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, and I wanted to add something.
please.
Okay, so let's see, not last Sunday, but the Sunday before that, Sarah Coffey and a bunch of volunteers for Guilford Cares, including me sort of representing our select board, divided up the list of households in Guilford that had people 65 and over to find out how they were faring, and also to let them know what services we had available for them. And, you know, this was also following the postcard that got sent to every household in Guilford. And the good news is that most people did have family or neighbors who were looking in on them. A handful of people did have needs and were matched up with people who could help them out with things like shopping and deliveries. But one of the very wonderful Guilford things is that among that group of people, 40 people volunteered to help others. So I just thought that was really inspiring.
That's
and
great. Thank you,
I
Veranda.
To point out that, you know, Sarah was instrumental in making this happen.
Mhm. Excellent. Any further discussion? All right, on to our next agenda item. I had put this on the agenda because I know that Zahn and Veranda were going to cool up the annual goals of the select board. Has that been done?
Yes, there's a document. Veranda, I'll speak if that's all right.
Please do, because I thought it was great.
So there's a document that came out. It should be, if everybody wants to look at it now, it's in our shared files. It's called Select Board Annual Goals.
Okay.
It's a document that we received, and so Veranda and I just worked directly on that document, suggesting a new draft version. I don't know if people want it doesn't seem like maybe we should take time now because it might be a while till everybody finds
Yeah,
it.
why don't we all make sure that we read them and then bring them up at our next meeting and re-adopt them as the goals, or maybe we don't even have to do that because it's just a language change, isn't it?
Well, it's a kind of format change. I would hope we could. My view would be that we would want to have a 10-minute discussion about them.
Okay, good.
I would like that too, and also, you know, in the light of the new now, I'd like to take another look at them and see whether we need to be paying attention in a slightly different way, you know, because of the times we're living through.
Okay, so why don't we take a look? Why don't we all take a look at them and look at them in the context of what Veranda is saying, that we are in the midst of a pandemic. Is there anything that there should be applicable to our goals regarding emergencies such as the one that we're in now? Is that, do I state that correctly, Veranda?
Yeah, that was great, Richard.
Thank you. So we'll put that on the agenda for next time.
Thank you.
I had put, are there any further discussion?
Well, Zahn did great work on those goals, I have to say. I was really impressed with his clarity.
Thanks to both of you.
Thank you.
Is there anything to update on the broadband? It may be not the time to talk about it, but I thought if there was anything new in regard to the broadband, but there's probably everything is closed down in regard to that.
Well, there was that message from, was it from Wyndham Regional that Linda Hecker brought up about the offer from Microsoft to have hotspots available at different parts of town where in municipal buildings or where people gather. And I mean, I don't know whether we want to discuss this now. It seemed unlikely that, I mean, one of our issues is that we have 3 hotspots in town, one by the school, one at our town office, and one by the library, but they're all in a very common, you know, a distinct part of town. So I had thought briefly, as did Linda, about the possibility of having one by the Guilford store or by the fire station. And the fire station was completely unavailable. And, you know, because of emergency issues, you know, they can't have people in their parking lot. And the Guilford store had some drawbacks, you know, as a site. But I don't know whether we want to discuss this now.
Well,
but
I haven't seen the email, so is it possible
Okay.
to make sure that we all see the email?
Yeah, let's make sure that, Peter, do you have the email?
I do have it somewhere. I'll have to find it. But
Yeah, I mean,
I would
Write it.
I would add that maybe I misunderstood, but I think these are somewhat separate. I mean, they're interconnected but separate topics.
That's correct.
Yes,
I think
they
that-
are separate topics. It was just under the general heading of broadband.
Sure.
Excuse me, this is back, Michael, jumping in. Did anyone read the article in the Reformer in the last week about, I don't know, probably a half a dozen neighboring towns voting at town meeting to form a CUD?
I didn't read the article, but I know that it happened. Yeah.
And I don't know, I guess I'm just, and I don't know if here's the place to discuss this, but my understanding was like town meeting was too early to be putting that before towns to vote on, but somehow, you know, half a dozen towns did vote to form a CUD. So I guess I'm just wondering, does anybody have a thought on, you know, should we be in touch with those towns that are forming one?
I
think Marlboro and Halifax. Yeah, go ahead, Zon.
As I understand the process, and Peter, maybe you can step in too, but as I understand the process, in order to form a CUD for Broadband Communications District, at least 2 towns have to band together, or 2 entities, maybe not even towns, but 2 parts of towns have to band together. And that has to be voted on by the towns when that starts. Then after that, any town can join that CUD, but it's not required that it all happen at the same time. So yes, and we will want to be talking with those towns to move forward, but at the same time, there's not any immediate pressure to do it. It's not like we're going to lose out anything. The company or the group, the Wyndham Regional Commission, that's doing the work on the bigger picture CUD, the whole prospectus and everything, they're working for the entire county, for the entire Wyndham Regional Commission district. So I think that it's not as if we're going to lose out on anything, because it would, let's say that they did form that CUD and it got established and they got contracts and so forth, we could ostensibly join those contracts and those relationships right away without any issue.
That's good to know.
So I guess I'm just Zon and anybody else. Do we have a sense of like when the appropriate time is to be in touch and join that CUD? Or
again, this is my sense, but my sense was that we were going to take our leadership from the Wyndham Regional Commission, who would be talking, after they'd done this feasibility study and then begun to look at some of the contracting possibilities. And so whether or not there was a big long message that came out from Alex at Wyndham Regional about. Correct. Did everyone get that?
Yes, I got it.
Okay, so it sounds like we wait and take our cue from WRC.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
fair enough.
Yes. Zon, you are absolutely correct on your analysis. And so when Alex sent out that message a couple of weeks ago, he did note that they are now beginning the process of writing the business plan for the entire Wyndham region. But yes, Zon, there was a group of towns mostly connected to the Deerfield Valley that have begun the process to form the CUD.
Great. Is
Okay.
there any
So
more
is
We're in a good
discussion?
place there, from what I can gather.
Is there any more discussion on this?
I have a question.
Yes. Verena.
Do we know whether this is whether the process is accelerating because of the urgency of internet communication now, or is it just proceeding as it would have anyway?
Does anybody have an answer to Veranda's question?
My sense is it's proceeding as they expected it to proceed. I mean, they didn't get as strong a response to the survey, the feasibility study that they'd hoped for, but it's strong enough still to be able to build a proposal, as I understand it. And so I think they're going to be moving ahead as best they can. I think I would, my reading between the lines, I would guess that the fact that these 6 or so communities in the Deerfield Valley have moved forward, that will add some pressure to this whole thing to keep moving. In other words, the feasibility study's not going to be able to sit back and kind of take its time. These folks in the Deerfield Valley are eager to move, and they'll start moving, which might drag us along. We might want to we want to stay in touch with it and then get on board as we need to.
Certainly will be an incentive.
Yeah.
It's too bad they're not doing this. I'm just saying it's too bad they're not doing the survey this week when every single household is dependent on their children having internet for school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we did their survey. Any other further comments or discussion? Okay, moving to Finance Advisory Committee, an item on our agenda. I just wanted to bring you up to date on that. You know that we had voted to establish a Finance Advisory Committee, and there are 2 things I'd like to say about that. One is that there are Sheila Morse and Katie Buckley, who are 2 of the sort of inspirations to establish the committee, which we did establish, are working to develop a charge of what that committee would be. That is, the charge would be what its mission is, what its tasks are, what it's going to do, and how it's going to work. And they're preparing a draft on that, which is not available at the present time. But I just wanted you to know that is being worked on, and that's something that I find is very important for our select board. And having done some research on it, Peter and I both did a little research on it. And I've been in touch with the attorney at the Vermont League of Towns and Cities. Lots of towns have either a budget advisory or a finance advisory board. So we're doing something that's quite orthodox, and I think that will be a great benefit for our town. The second thing I'd like to do is I'd like us to appoint the members who have come forward, the volunteers who have come forward to serve in that committee. It would be in the select board's best interest to designate those members by vote. And if we can do that I would ask if you would agree to take that vote. Select board members, are you willing to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And I can read out the members, and why don't I make the motion? I motion that Gordon Little, Sheila Morse, Katie Buckley, Rusty Marine, and Penny Marine, and Tim Harris be appointed to be the Finance Advisory Committee at the direction of the Select Board in service to the town of Guilford.
Well, isn't Rusty on the select board?
But he's going to be on the Finance Advisory Committee as well. He's our representative.
Okay. No Ann Ryder?
Pardon?
No Ann Ryder?
No, she didn't come forward to volunteer, but I can ask her.
Oh, I thought she did. I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
Yeah.
I just was. Yeah.
Oh, Lynn Pancake also said he was willing, but I think we have enough people.
I think there are enough people.
More than we need.
Yes.
Great.
So do I have a second for that motion?
Yes.
Is there any discussion of that motion?
I would feel a little more comfortable about, I mean, I trust all of those people. I would feel a little more comfortable about voting for it if I knew what their charge was. You know, I mean, if they're going to the trouble of creating that kind of formal structure, I'd like to know what the structure is. But I mean, I trust all those people, so whatever they want to
Okay,
do
well,
is
so
okay.
you're putting your finger on what's a conundrum. This committee, I've spoken to the lawyer at VCLT, and this committee has to be designated by the select board. And in order for the committee to go on doing its work, I thought it would be in our best interest to actually form the committee to give us a draft of what their charge would be, and then we would charge them with that. So they're doing the research. We have a couple of people who are very good at sort of founding documents. I'm talking about Katie and Sheila in particular. So I just thought it would be in our best interest to designate the committee, have the committee then doing the research and the formulation of what the directive would be, letting us look at it in draft form, and then adopting it.
Rusty, what's your feeling? I mean, you're charged with being on this committee.
Yes, well, like being the new member here, I figure with Katie and the other members that are more in the know on this, I think it would be a good thing. I mean, I'd be leaning on them for their expertise.
And the underlining here is that the select board has to designate the committee.
Yeah, it seems to me that we either would have to put in the work ourselves to designate what the tasks are and then appoint a committee to the tasks.
That's correct.
Or the other way would be to ask this group of people to volunteer and provide us with a set of tasks that we would review and oversee and then say, yes, now go forward.
Exactly my point.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with the latter approach.
Yeah. So did I have a second on that motion?
Yes.
Okay, and we've discussed it. Is there any further discussion? I'll take the roll. Michael, I'm looking right at you. Michael Becker.
Aye.
Zon Easties.
Aye.
Miranda Porch.
Aye.
Rusty.
Aye.
Richard. Aye. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're on to communications, the warrants, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. What?
I just have one
I'm ready
question
to
on
do
the
the
warrant.
Rusty's going to do the warrants.
I just have a question on the warrants. Why is there a $4,000 difference in the payroll for this week as composed to the other weeks?
Oh, I think I can answer that. Can I just start doing the warrants
Yes.
and then
Please do it that way.
Go ahead.
Okay, so let me just get this document. Okay, I move that we pay the following warrants. Week 3, 29/20 for the sum of $7,436.40. Payroll week of 4/5/20 for the sum of $6,014.11. Payroll week 4/12/20 for the sum of $10,114.30. Expense warrant number 2019 for the sum of $40,599.17. Expense warrant FW19 for the sum of $26.50 for a grand total of $64,190.31. So would you like
Do
me
I have a
to?
second?
Yes.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Okay. So the major expenses here were health insurance, $6,164 and change. Gravel amounted to $5,460. Repairs were $2,091 and change. The snow blower, $3,000. $229. Now, I think the discrepancy was paying into the retirement. I had to look up what VMERS was, and it's employee retirement. And so that was $4,893.36. And Wyndham Solid Waste was $3,644.41.
Rusty, does that answer your question?
So you were
I
saying
can
that-
actually speak.
Go ahead, Peter.
Okay, thank you. I can answer Rusty's question as to why payroll for 4/12/2020 was over $4,000 more than the 2 previous weeks. The reason being is with Alan's retirement at the end of March, part of the personnel policy states that that anyone who departs from the town will be paid whatever vacation time that they have remaining. And because of his longevity here, he had quite a bit of time remaining. And so that was paid out to him through payroll.
Okay,
It makes
Thank you.
sense.
thank you.
Any other discussion of the warrants? I'll take the roll call then. Rusty,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Zahn,
Aye.
Veranda,
Aye.
Richard, aye. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. On to communications. Peter, do you have any communications for us this week?
Have any communications?
You have none.
Correct.
Is that what you said? Okay, thank you. The action summary from the previous meeting, which was to send out the postcard for volunteering, and I received a postcard.
And that was done.
The next item on the agenda is to adjourn this group of distinguished Guilford citizens. Do I have a motion?
Excuse me, Richard, can I bring up something? I don't know if I bring it up at the right time. I was just thinking, with the pandemic and it's going to be the high unemployment rate, has there been any thought about property taxes and if there's going to be a lot more delinquencies or?
Isn't that in the government's executive order that there's some leniency towards property taxes?
I do not know. I'll have to look that up.
I was asking Peter if he knew that off the top of his head.
That is, at least as of right now, it's being addressed on a town by town basis, and thus far, a majority of towns are not doing so because that is so far out. The leniency that he has done on taxes is he extended the deadline for filing your income taxes until July 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only tax leniency that I'm aware that has been taken specifically, none on property taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So the question, it seems to me that if there's going to be an issue for us to consider leniency, is that a responsibility that we would have perhaps to extend dates or find other formats?
That's something that I'm going to have to confer with Penny on to get more specifics on that, as well as with Lisa. I can't speak to that and give you a clear answer, and so I don't want to misspeak on that.
Yeah, and I would also think that in my first thought, and I could be wrong, is that we would want to parallel statewide governance on this matter.
I guess
I
I think
think-
that's a wise choice, Richard.
It's also something that I think Sarah could help us understand what the legislature is saying and what other towns are doing, because these are very intensive discussions going on now about the financial harm as well as the health problems.
So the reason I bring it up at all is just that I would want to be really prepared as a select board for figuring out how to deal with this and not just have a need to make quick decisions at some moment.
Right, that's why I brought it up now.
Yeah.
Very
Well,
good.
I think that I could talk to Sarah about it, or Veranda could.
Sounds like Peter has a good plan too, to find out, just be in touch with the state and find out
Yes.
what the protocols are that are coming down.
Good.
Yeah.
Peter, well, you'll do that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that will be an action item.
Can I jump in and ask one more question as well
Yeah.
before we adjourn?
Sure.
Oh, Peter, I'm just interested to know the town staff. To what extent are they able to do their jobs? And I mean, how many people are working home versus in the town office? Like, who's at the town office at the moment?
At the moment, Penny is primarily the only one that's working in the town office. She is having Ellie and Marta both work reduced hours at this point in time. And Lisa and I have both been working remotely since the governor's orders for stay home, stay safe.
Okay, yeah, I was just looking for an update, or just, I haven't been to the town hall in a while, so.
Are you satisfied with
Yep.
that update?
Yeah.
I had another question, which was, that we can discuss next time, but I wasn't sure where we left off with having hiring an administrative assistant for Peter.
That's not on the agenda
Well,
tonight, so I'd like to put that on the
Yeah,
agenda
exactly.
for next time.
No, I just wondered whether that was
Okay.
whether that was something that was coming up in the next month or what.
We'll put that on the agenda for next meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Is there any other further discussion? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Sure.
Oh, that's you, Zon.
I'll do it all tonight.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Well, just stay safe, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
All those in favor, I'll call the roll. Veranda,
Yes.
Rusty,
Aye.
Michael,
Hi.
Zon,
Aye.
Richard, aye. The motion carries unanimously, and it's been a great pleasure seeing you, although you haven't been able to see me, and I wore my special costume too. So I hope that we'll be able to have a remote. I'll have to check into my camera. It may be that it just doesn't want to show me. But anyway, have a good and safe couple of weeks, and be well, be safe, and make sure that you
Stay safe, everyone.
wash your hands frequently. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
And thank you, Peter.